What's good, YouTube? We back at it again. In the forest, in the woods. That's where we come from, y'all. Look. See them beautiful leaves falling and shit? This where we come from, man. We gotta get back to nature. We gotta get back to nature, and we gotta give back to nature. I don't even understand why these trees dying like this. Like, I don't even think trees supposed to be falling, dying and shit like that. But look. In today's video, I want to explain to y'all a little bit about the dimensions. Because we all have heard of 5D, 3D, 4D, but we don't even understand. We don't even understand what the fuck that means. It's imperative that we seek understanding of the dimensions which we live in. Got to my spot. Because all the dimensions are right here. Look, some people think that the 5D is somehow like in the sky or some shit, like some shit in heaven, like, but that's not really how it works. Look, 4D, 5D, it's all right here. It's all right here in this plane of existence. This is the reason why a person that, when they open their pineal gland and they can finally look into the 4D, 5D, they would seem crazy to a person that's still 3D minded, because they're both existing in the same plane of existence, but they have completely different perceptions. Because one person is able, like, let's call it, they unlocked the ability to look into the 4D, to experience the 4D, the 5D, and the other person just simply hasn't. So the person that's still 3D minded will be like, oh, you're crazy, because I don't see anything. Like, what are you talking about? Like if I tell you I could see the firmament, like I could see the electromagnetic grid of the planet when I look up at night, but a person that still has his first eye closed, right, I would seem crazy too. I didn't always, you know, the first night that I went outside and looked up, I didn't see the electromagnetic grid. I started seeing it after years, months of meditation and getting nature, you know, going outside and appreciating nature. I'm gonna explain something to y'all. I'm gonna explain why the 5D makes no fucking sense to 3D minded people. I'm gonna explain to y'all why it's impossible to find a logical sense in it. I'm gonna tell y'all why right now. Look, in order to understand that, right, we're gonna have to look at the lower dimensions, because your 3D mind cannot comprehend the 4D right now or the 5D. But you can very easily comprehend the 2D and the 1D, because it's below you. Below you. They exist right here, but it's below you though, because you will have you're 3D minded. You're 3D minded. So 2D concepts are below you, although they exist right here in the same plane of existence. It's crazy how when you realize all this, it's crazy how they've always have put it in our face. Like, I've always thought to myself, like, there's like everything that they put in the movies and animes and shows, like, it all seems so precise. Like it always seemed to me like somebody did it on purpose. And now I understand. Like, it honestly blows my mind how everything that we ever watched has truth to it. Like, nothing was ever fiction. Nothing. And if we're talking about magical powers and flying and all that, that's small shit. That is small shit, bro. When you really look at the movies with your first eye instead of your second eyes Because you didn't always have these two eyes, but you always had your first eye right here. Before you had your second eyes, you had your third, you had your first eye. First. Alright? So look, let's look at the lower dimensions. Let's borrow our boy Mario real quick. I've always wondered why that game was so popular. Now I know. They basically making fun of us. They putting shit right in our faces. Look, Mario, that motherfucker live in a 2D world. Up, down, back, forth. Let's say you can communicate with Mario through the TV, right? A being in this 2D world. Instead of being a video game, he's an actual being. Mario doesn't have a clue that his whole entire 2D world is ruled by this 3D world that we live in. We live in a 3D format. You can look up, down, wherever the fuck you want. You're not only limited to back and forth, up and down. You're not limited to that only, right? Because you live in a 3D world. However, Mario lives in a 2D world. And that 2D world is governed by the 3D. Mario technically doesn't know this, right? So he doesn't have a clue. He thinks his 2D mind thinks that world that he lives in is only limited to 2D concepts. So he thinks there is nothing outside of the 2D world that plays a factor in whatever happens in that 2D world, right? Little does he know, outside of his 2D world, there's a motherfucker with a controller controlling him. He doesn't think so, though. He thinks it's just, you feel me? It is what it is. You get to the princess or not, or he falls in the fucking hole or whatever, you feel me? The whole time, motherfuckers outside of his 2D world and the 3D is controlling it. Like the whole 3D, this whole 3D world dictates Mario's whole entire world. Alright, now this is half analogy, half not, because obviously you can't exactly compare 2D to 3D to the 3D to the 4D, because every single time you shift up in dimensions, it gets way more complicated, a lot more complicated. Alright, I got a question for you. If you wanted to explain to Mario with words that he doesn't have left or right, like, mind you, Mario has never heard of such thing, left or right. Like, what the fuck is a left or right? Think about it. Mario goes back, forth, up, down. He doesn't have left, right or left. He doesn't. How do you explain to Mario that his world doesn't have left or right in 2D words? In 2D words. Two-dimensional words, meaning in words that he could understand. How do you do that? Exactly. You can't. There is no possible way to put 3D concepts in 2D words, right? There is no possible way. There isn't, because in the 2D world, 3D concepts do not exist. So it's impossible to put it into words. It's impossible to put the 3D into words that a 2D mind could understand. That's the same way that a 3D mind cannot understand the 4D and the 5D, because you can kind of put it into words, but words would never do justice to what it actually is. Because you can explain to Mario, like, look, you know how you go back and forth, up and down? Like, imagine if there was another thing you could do. Like, imagine if you could just jump off the side of the fucking map of some shit, right? That such thing doesn't exist in his world, right? So he might hear you out, but he gonna be lost. Like, Mario gonna be one of them motherfuckers that be like, oh, nah, you're crazy. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Nah, such things don't exist, and this and that. The only possible way for Mario to know what we're talking about, like, yo, Mario, we can fucking see in a 3D format. He doesn't understand that. The only possible way for him to understand is if somehow he can pop out the game, get into a vessel, right? Because to be in the 3D, you need a 3D vessel. If we wanted to hop into Mario's world, we would need to descend into a cartoon vessel, right? Because we can't exist in Mario's world with this vessel is too advanced. That's the same way that we descend in dimensions when we come from the spiritual realm into the 3D. The only difference is that we don't remember where we come from. So we cannot, our 3D minds cannot comprehend the spiritual realms until you get back up there, right? That's why you need to lay the 3D mind to sleep, aka the ego. You need to lay it to sleep in order to project your spirit, astral project, right? Astral project to a higher dimension, and then you can comprehend it because you're not using your logical, like you're not using your intellect. Whenever you're in the spiritual realms, you're not using your intellect. You're only using the awareness. The intellect cannot come up to the spiritual realms with you, with your spirit. The intellect is the mind, the brain, the physical body. The spirit, however, projects itself outside of the body, right? As the awareness is not thinking words while you in the spiritual realms. That only happens here in the 3D world. That's why the ego is the 3D mind. Alright, look, this is why you cannot comprehend the 4D world, which rules this world right here, right? By the laws of the universe. The laws of the universe come from higher dimensions, which is why when you comprehend the laws of the universe, you gain so much understanding about higher dimensions. Your pineal gland, aka your third eye, which is actually your first eye, was supposed to teach you all about this as you was coming up in this 3D world. Because as a soul and spirit, we already know it all. But every time we go and incarnate into worlds, we go to learn, to evolve our soul. Because we know all the knowledge, but we can still evolve. Or like knowing, like I said, knowing something and experiencing it is not the same. Like souls that's never incarnated in this 3D world, that's never came here before, they know all about it. They can tell you all about it, but they will never understand it the way we do, the people that's actually came here, because we've actually lived many lives. We have experience, right? If a new soul that's never incarnated here, right, that's never came here before, if they were to come here right now in the state that the world is in, they would literally, bro, not know how to do shit. Like, they would be really ignorant. They would be inexperienced. Alright, so look, let's say this is the difference between, it's hard to explain it. This is the difference between old souls. That's how you could tell who's an old soul and who's not. Old souls just pick up on life kind of easy, like they've been here before. Like, you know those kids that start walking, talking at a very young age. Like, motherfuckers start talking at like 6 months old. Motherfuckers start walking perfectly at 1 year old. Those are old souls because their soul already have like the experience coding from living so many lives. So they already kind of know the code of life. You feel me? But of course they're in a new vessel, so the vessel has to relearn a lot of things, right? But the soul already has experience, so it's not gonna be as, like, for example, let's say there's an old soul that's learned lessons of theft, right? Like, in there's been many past lives, this certain particular old soul was a thief, right? In his past life. That means when he incarnates in this in a new vessel, he's not gonna be prone to being a thief because his soul already remembers the lesson of not, like, he's gonna be inclined to not stealing You feel what I'm saying? Like the feeling is gonna be there, like the intuition is gonna be there. Oh, I know, this is what separates the smart souls from the ones that are naive, arrogant, all that, right? Because they have to live more lives in order to understand a lot about life. This is where your master numbers comes in. So if you've ever heard about life paths, right? You could be a life path 1 through 10. Yeah, 1 through 9. There is only 3 life path numbers that are double digits. Only 3. Master number 11, right? Master number 11, master number 22, and master number 33. People like Albert Einstein was a master number 33. GG33, the numbers guy. If y'all have seen him on YouTube and TikTok breaking down like numerology, he's a life path 33. That's why he knows so much shit. For example, Von Cut, life path 11. He's young but so wise. The reason why some people are born into master numbers and some people are not is because you have to earn that rank. But life is literally, it's like a video game ranking system. You upgrade your soul, right? The more you incarnate, the more you're gonna get this life experience down pat. Like the more you're gonna master it. There's been many of us that already master it. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be a master number to master the life experience, right? The only people that can incarnate as master numbers are old souls that already mastered the human experience. Those same souls also can incarnate as non-master numbers. You feel me? You can incarnate as a life path number 2, nigga, and your last life you could have been a master number 33. So always remember that with this spiritual shit, things are really fluent. Things are really fluent, and things are what's the word I'm looking for? Damn, I'm just gonna let it go. I don't give a fuck. And this spiritual shit, nothing is ever simple. Shit is always fluent, right? Nothing is ever like too systematic, too simple, like the 3D world is. Things are always complicated. There's always hella factors to shit. There's always hella things to bring into consideration, right? If you incarnate as a master number, you most definitely gonna either be a master scientist, you're gonna be somebody very, very smart. This is why you take karma into your next life. If you this is why, look, ego death and physical death are not the same.